Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to week 5 of the OK Run Show. Shawn, what have you been up to this week?
A lot of basketball, playing a lot of pickup basketball, a little bit of softball action.
How'd the softball team do?
We got killed, but it was fun though.
Go Pine
See, the
Cones.
problem is that not very few of us have ever even played baseball or softball. Every team in our time division are all ex high school baseball players, and we just get smoked. It's still fun though. It's a good
How
time.
many miles of basketball did you say you've
Like
done?
20 in 3 or 4 days. We've been getting after it.
It's got more basketball
Listen,
miles than running
though,
miles. This
we're
this
on a generational run in basketball.
generational run.
Yes,
Generational. How's your bracket doing?
It's all right. It's not like horrible, but it's not.
So,
I've had better brackets and I've had worse brackets. We'll put it that way.
Shawn, big music guy. What's your song of the week this week?
J.R. Carroll's new EP, Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a listen.
Okay.
Mhm.
My song of the week. You guys need to check it out. Tell me if it's AI or if it's actually Kanye, if you are a Kanye fan. Look up First Day Out Freestyle. I believe it's part 2 by Rundown Spaz. And just let me know if the Kanye part is actually Kanye or not. Give me your verdict on that. Um, because the jury's still out on whether it's AI or not. And if it's AI,
Yeah.
it's scary good. I just showed Shawn the song, and it's crazy if it's AI, but if it's actually Kanye, I don't know. He hasn't said anything about it, and he's not even listed as a feature on the song. So have fun with that. Now, moving on to the recap. Very windy weekend across the state. Now, some people did go down to Texas, and I know there's a lot of good wind legal times. So decent conditions down there for running fast. Starting off, we're going to start off with distance this week. Jackson Strode, he's the number 3 400-meter runner, moved up to the 800, took down the Lincoln Christian school record, ran 1:55.62, puts him just 0.02 seconds out of the number 2 spot in the state this year, but number 3 so far, puts him number 2 in Class A. Still about 2 seconds behind what Trey Baker's run, but still, like, if you're a good 400 runner and you're maybe not as quick over the 200, I would tell you look to move up to the 800 at some point in your career. You will probably do big things. Jackson Strode moved up, did a big thing, ran 1:55.6, historically good distance school. Always has some good distance guys, good 800 runners to take down a school record. That's big time. Rutherford and Eli Hopkins had a great battle at Choctaw, run the number 3 and number 4 times in the state this year, over 1,600 meters, I believe 421 apiece for both of them. Eli Hopkins is kind of a guy, and I don't know if you'll agree with me. He's been around for a long time, but he always kind of feels like tier 2 and 6A. Like, he's not one of your big players that you're like really looking at going into like the state meet, but you always think like he's going to get on the medal stand, just one of the lower tiers. To run this time puts him at number 4 in the state this year. A top 3 placement at state wouldn't be too crazy. Granted, loaded 6A division, you've had Woodcock's run 4:11, Thayer's run 4:13, obviously Zach Rutherford, the cross country champ. But I think this is like kind of Eli Hopkins like coming out battle of like, hey, I'm here. I'm also good. I can mix it up with the big dogs. Also, quick little shout out to Jaden Rodriguez of Bridge Creek and Tyler Baker of Poto. Couple solo sub 10s at some small school meets. Got to shout those out when you see them. Moving on, Morgan Kirkland, 4:58.43, finally gets her sub 5-minute clocking. Did that down at Texas Relays. Deer Creek, big. They got the brooms out this week. 1, 2, 3 in the 8, 1, 2, 3 in the 16, and 1, 2, 3 in the 32 at the Jinx meet. Again, not quick times, pretty windy, but still impressive to sweep like that. Trey Baker put up a couple solid solo performances at the prior meet, 4:26 and 9:49 for the 16 and 32 respectively. And probably the biggest distance performance of the weekend, Gentry Turner. We saw her run sub 5 2 weekends ago at Union. This weekend, 10:38 solo. She's now 8 seconds behind the state record in that event. Shawn, give us your distance.
Oh
Right
boy.
now, what do you see here? What sticks out?
I know that at the Jenks High School meet, they do that at the middle school, which has for like if it's a windy day, it's trouble. So I mean, the times are slow, but that's still impressive to me because there's nothing blocking wind anywhere on that track. So
Mhm.
it's tough. And I would say definitely Gentry Turner because I think that she can break that. I mean, it's 8 seconds off, and the 32 isn't anything too crazy. If you get her in a meet with someone else who's going to run about that time, I think it's a good shot.
I think good crop of distance girls this year. I think
Yeah, there's like
lot.
enough
Yeah, there's
to
some
make a race like that happen.
for sure. There's a lot of really good
Yeah.
Distance athletes in the 6A girls division. I could see 3,200 meter at the state meet. If the athletes kind of all run the 4x8, then maybe they're on tired legs going into the 3,200 in the afternoon. But let's say that they don't, is that like not many of the top athletes run the 4x8
Yeah.
and they kind of skip it to run 32. I could see the state record going down at the state meet.
Yeah.
Fireworks. I don't know who's going to come out on top. Gentry Turner right now, I feel like if we had a power ranking going, she's the number one distance girl as of right now in the state.
I agree.
Moving on to the jumps, Nicholas Chu of Elgin, 24 feet 8, puts him in the top 10 nationally. And of course, OK, number 1. Behind him, Dalen Fuller of Union, 23 feet even, puts him at OK, number 3. In the high jump, Graham Murphy, 6 feet 10 inches, getting him back up there. That ties his personal best from last year during his freshman campaign. Ty Burnett of Kiefer and Quentin Richardson of Luther both go 6 feet 8, tied with a couple other guys at the state number 2 right now. Some big pole vault marks. Tyler Deesering and Cooper Wakely jump 15 feet even, joint number 1 for the state lead. Parker Owens, I believe he's a sophomore out of Glenpool. He's now Oklahoma number 3 with 14 feet 6, also in the pole vault. Sanaya Green, Glenpool sophomore, 18 feet to win the prior long jump, puts her in contention for the medals at state. But Cassidy Watkins, hands down, number 1 long jumper in the state, jumped 19 feet 4.5 inches. Also won the 400 meter, versatile athlete. Campbell Barda, a top 5 in the 100 and 200. She's someone that will look to medal in those events at the state meet. Opened up her long jump season, 18 feet 7.5 inches. She beat her teammate, Cadence Barnett, who's the number 2 long jumper in the state behind Cassidy Watkins of Mustang. Emily Cloutier won the pole vault, jumped 13 feet, which is the state lead by big margin, by over a foot. But she's now 1 inch below the state record. So that state record is definitely in danger. And to finish out, Jacelyn Hammonds of Plainview. She was your top returner in the high jump. She jumped 5 feet 6, I think ties her PB and gives her the state lead. Shawn, rundown of the jumps.
I mean, I think all of those performances are pretty impressive stuff. I could see the pole vault maybe going down. I mean, an inch, I think in pole vault is still a lot, but you get a good jump, you get good competition. I could see that to me is the one that I'm like, that could go down.
I think it'll go down. The hard part with pole vault in the state is that Oklahoma's always windy. And wind is not favorable in any direction. You get a good tailwind in the 100, you're going to run fast.
Yeah.
You get a good tailwind in the pole vault, it throws your rhythm off. You hit the bar, you don't clear a mark that you definitely should. But that being said, I think an inch is very doable. I think she's going to break the record. It's going to happen. Is she going to get necessarily pushed in any competition this year, at least in the state? No. Like the next closest is May Pashner out of Shattuck at like 11.6. So still like a 1.5 feet below her.
But if she moves down to Texas or something.
She goes to a Texas meet, possibly, but I believe with where we are in the season, nobody's probably going to travel down there until after state. Nobody's gonna travel anywhere until after
Which
state.
at that point, it counts towards the state record.
I feel like it should, as long as
Yeah.
you're like
Hot take,
hot
because
take.
happened to old Keegan Thomas. He technically has both in the mile and 2 mile as
Yes.
state record, but it doesn't count because he could have did it late May. Poor guy.
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
That sucks,
we could
dude.
go into like what should count, what shouldn't
Yeah.
count. But certainly if you're still within your eligibility in high school, I don't care when you do it. You should get it. But I also don't know. She might be a senior. I didn't look that up to see whether she'd be graduating this year or not. I don't believe she is. I believe she's an underclassman. I believe she still has some time, but she's definitely getting it this year. I hope she breaks it, and I hope she makes it way higher so that the younger generations that come after her have something to really shoot for. Because like, I mean, she's almost at the state lead, but she's like number 9 in the nation. So if our state record is only number 10 in the first week of April, like that means the record probably should get broken and should be moved a lot higher. That the record is weaker than it should be. So I would love to see her break the record and then make it what it should be. Moving on to the throws, couple big time men's throws performances. Jack Keith, he's like the number 2 returner in both the shot and the disc. He came out, put up 2 nationally ranked marks. First up in the shot put, 61 feet, 11 inches, puts him at number 2 in the state behind Ruger Tatum, who threw 64 feet last week. Gives him a national ranking. He also threw 182 feet, which is a big state lead by like 10 feet. In the disc, also gave him a national ranking. And then Braden Garrison, who was our only returner who had thrown over 60 feet, 59 feet 9, gives him okay number 3. Obviously, we'll see him go over 60 feet probably later in the season. But there's a couple really, really good throwers right now. I think that Braden Garrison could throw over 60 feet, and we could have 3 shot put men in the top like 20 nationally at the end of the season.
That'd be awesome.
Very easily. Throws have kind of been a very underrated thing here in the state. I mean, we obviously for us, we're distance nerds. We know distance is good. You know, we have some good sprinters. These throws guys have been phenomenal all year, men and women. Women didn't have as many like big time performances this weekend, but they've been really good throughout the season. So Shawn, what you got? Throws.
I think you about mentioned everything for the throws, but I mean, I would like to see someone contend for shot put, and I mean, I think the shot put is, I could see that being more of a close battle at state, at least where we stand right now, than the discus.
Yeah, but we have some like I think Ruger Tatum's out of Glenpool, Jack Keith is out of Collinsville, Braden Garrison's out of Dewey. I believe Dewey's like a 3A school.
So they're all different classes.
Collinsville and Glenpool.
Well, maybe go to the meet of champions. If you go to the meet of champions.
Meet of champions always weirdly has good throws. I remember Patrick Larison of Moore went there and like threw like,
if anybody is gonna go, it's gonna be the jumpers or the throwers, because none of the distance kids want to go to meet champions. It's 3 days after state. None of the sprinters want to, so it's got to be like the guys that like throw or jump.
Yeah, meet of champions is just at a tough time because like you really can't do it any other time, unfortunately, because it's in the last week of most people's like school year.
Yeah.
So as you know, with like the last week of school, there's all the awards banquets, and if you're a senior, you have all the graduation stuff that week, and there's a lot going on, so it's hard for people to fit in another meet. Obviously, if you're in the big schools, so 5 and 6A, you had your state meet literally the weekend before, so you're tired. Now, if you're a small school guy, and especially if you're an underclassman, you're probably going to go to meet of champions because your state meet was 10 days ago. And if you're an underclassman, you're not having to do graduation or anything. So you got less to worry about. But still go to meet of champions. We want to see the best battle the best. And that's like the one time we really get one meet standalone in a weekend. Well, during the week, I guess, that we can get the big matchups, and you're fit. You'll be okay on a couple days rest. Just run easy for a couple of days, show up, rock a really fast time in your event. Come on. We want to see it. Go to meet of champions, make meet of champions great again. That's my statement for the week. In the hurdles, Good hurdle weekend. Dean McCune of Jinx, state lead, 14:24, puts him 0.14 ahead of the 2022 champ and top returner, Aiden Edwards of Mustang. In the 300 hurdles, Sam Struss, 38.88 at Texas Relays, number 2 time in the state this year. James Duncan, 39.32, puts him at number 3 in the state this year. Kind of an interesting storyline to follow was Aiden Edwards was your top returner in the 110s and definitely your top returner by a good margin in the 300 hurdles. Him, Nathan Enrique, who took him to the line in the 300 at state. They're your top 2 returners, but they're only sitting number 6 and number 10 in the state, respectively, in the 300 hurdles right now, which is crazy because they were like the 2 guys that I put in a storyline article. And I was like, these are guys, they're going to have a great battle this year. Right now, like there's been a lot of turnover and a lot of guys have stepped up this year and have even surpassed guys like Aiden Edwards, Nathan Enrique. But state meet comes around, who knows what could happen. Moving on to the women's hurdles, Anara Ukububa. We saw her in indoors. She ran great. She was your top returner in the 110s. Well, she's back. 14.11. Big state lead, puts her 0.3 ahead of the girl that took her to the line at state in the 110s. Kayvon Newbine, 14.43. Those 2 times are your top 2 in the state this year. Both run at Texas Relays. Shawn, hurdles, rundown. What you got?
It's pretty fast, I think, for this year. I think at state, especially in 6A, we're going to have a pretty good battle. Like what you were talking about, the 2 guys that were top in the state last year coming back aren't even top 5 right now, at least. And I think that just shows, though, at state, we could have a very fast time because even those guys, if they're not up there as much as they were last year, they could easily get up there. It's not like they don't have the ability. So then it's just, you've got 5 to 10 guys in there that can get it done, which I think makes for a pretty entertaining event.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, Dean McCune has put himself as like the odds-on favorite in the 110s, and he's like a half second up on everybody in the 300.
But I think with that, a lot.
But still, with hurdles,
because you somehow trip on something. I mean, that's enough.
It certainly is a chaotic event.
If you trip, most likely at least.
Moving on to the sprints. Caleb Barnett of Broken Arrow runs 10:44. This is Broken Arrow's school record and the state lead this year. The Union boys 1 through 4 at Jinx. This is also the top 4 times in the state this year, led by Jarek Waite in 21:33, Ashton Cunningham in 21:36. Again, top 4 fastest 200-meter times of the season. Jarek Waite, Ashton Cunningham, those 2 marks put them as, I believe, top 20, I believe number 12 and number 13, respectively, in the nation as juniors.
I've got to wonder, I should know our school record, but I think they're pretty dang close.
That's probably close. It's probably around 21 flat, probably in that area. Low 21.
I think it might be something like that, yeah. Or 20.99 something.
Probably somewhere in that region. Moving on to the girls, Jordan Atkinson, wins the 111.9, good for number 2 in the state this year. Mustang 1 through 3 swept the event. Atkinson also doubled back to run 25.05, which is a top 5 performance in the state, I believe number 2 currently. And Mustang again goes 1 through 4 in this. Kaylin Bratton of Putnam City, freshman, 12 seconds even, gives her Oklahoma number 4. Amira Woods of Durant, big time performance here, 24.55, state leader. She's the only girl under 25 seconds this year, half second up on all of the competition across the state. Durant, I believe, is 5A. So you won't see her against a lot of your heavy hitters in the 6A division at state, but still a great athlete to watch at the state meet in the 200. And sophomore, still has some years ahead of her to possibly break the state record, which I'm not sure what it is. I believe it's in the 23s. So look for that to possibly happen over the next couple of years. And then To round out the sprints, Allie Huxtable of Lincoln Christian, 57.05, gives her Oklahoma number 2 this season. Again, Lincoln Christian, very deep across many events, both men and women this year in their first year at 5A.
Okay, I think for me, what stands out here is once again, you've got Broken Arrow and you've got Union. And that's been a long time. You know, they're usually two of some of the 3 or 4 best sprinting squads in the state, I'd say.
sure.
For the at least for like recent history. I think with Union, you've got 4 guys there in the 200 that can get it done. And I think that's really interesting come time for state, because I wonder what squads they're going to bring out in their 4x1 and what they're going to bring in their 4x2 and when they're 4x4, and then who's going to be in the open 1, open 2, the open 4. Because if they've got 4 guys who can run in the 21s or close to it, that allows them to have a lot of flexibility. But then you've got Broken Arrow and you've got Westmore's always got good sprinters, you know, and then they've got an 800 guy that can drop down to 400, right? So then and so I'm just interested to see what 4x1s who's on those teams, because I think state, that's when you can really play around with stuff and it becomes a lot more of almost like a chess battle.
For sure.
Because then you are picking athletes to run certain events because you think those athletes are going to be the best ones. So.
And you can only put 3 in an event. So yes, there are 1 through 4, but you can only run 3 of those. But of course, it gives them some options to go, okay, well, maybe we don't run our fastest guy in this event because maybe we need him for a 400.
Because maybe like Ashton maybe he's a better 400 guy. Like, hey, we're going to throw you in the 4x4 and a 400. And then that's all you're going to do. But then this kid's going to run the 200 for you. Yeah.
But they're the favorites in the 4x4. So that's 20 points right there. They're the favorites in the 4x1 currently. 20 points right there. I imagine if you go 1 through 4 in the 200, you're the favorites for the 4x2. So there's no points. There's 60 points right there.
Everything goes correct.
Okay, yes, if everything goes correctly.
There's drop batons all the time that happens. But if they get those 3, they're in a pretty. That's tough.
They'll score. Dejan will likely win the 400,
or at least get top 3. You know,
he'll likely win the 400. He's pretty far ahead of everybody else right now in the 6A division. But also, like, they'll probably score him, maybe one other guy in that one. If you have the top 4 200 guys, you're probably also going to have 1 or 2 guys scoring the 100. So there's some points there. But if you can go 1, 2, 3 in the 200, that's 24 points right there. It's 24, plus they had 60 points in relays. If the 800-meter guy, Daniel Davis, if he scores, he may not score a lot of points because chaos in the 800, so a lot can happen. Or he can win. Or he can win.
The thing.
That's the crazy part about
makes the 800 so entertaining.
Yeah, 6A 800, you could.
Because, like, I even remember my senior year 800, I didn't compete in it. But I was watching and I'm like, the kid that won, nobody picked him to win.
Exactly.
And obviously he was a great runner, but it's like nobody picked him and he won.
Right. So
chaos.
Right now they're, I don't want to say definite points, but they're likely points. If they can win all 3 relays, that's 60. You score 24. Let's even shoot a little bit low. Say one guy doesn't have a good day in the 200, score 20 points. Right there, you have 80 points.
That's tough
already.
But then you got BA, who's got some distance
for
kids, you know.
For sure.
I think BA also had a guy run 4:30 in a mile. That isn't Eli Hopkins. So maybe he squeaks in 8, which would be very tough to do, but still.
Right. It's a tough scene. I mean, there's a lot could happen. So looking forward to it. Finishing out with relays here. Union, Jinx, Owasso, 1, 2, 3 in the state. Union leading the way, 41.86. Jinx, 42.25. Owasso, 42.36. Owasso did run quicker at the Tulsa Union meet, but still retained the number 3 spot in the rankings. Carl Albert, the men, took down Broken Arrow in the 4x4, running 3:21. Puts them at Oklahoma number 3. Broken Arrow has run quicker. They have put a 320 mark down on paper. And of course, Union at 318. Edmond Memorial men, we've been rooting for them to get under 8 because they've been 8 flat. They've been 802. They've been right around there. They finally get under 756 down at Texas Relays. Deer Creek, after sweeping all of the distance events at Jinx, also go, hey, why not? Let's put together a 4x8 and run 803. So that puts them at number 2 in the state so far this season. The Jinx women upset state leaders Tulsa Union at the Jinx meet, running 358 to Union's 403. Although Union has run 356 this year. Edmond North women, probably the relay of the weekend because they're now nationally ranked because of this performance, 924 and a sneaky 927 out of Edmond Memorial women. Shawn, relay action. Give us your thoughts.
I think I've said this before, but I'm most excited for these events at state because of the fact that it's 20 points if you win.
Sure.
And I think the relays are very competitive this year. From sprinting to the 800, I think I think the 4x1 and the 4x8 will be a competitive race. I really don't think there's a single team that's just going to blow someone out of the water, at least in 6A, which is the majority of what we've just talked about here. Because 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, there's enough schools that I think that are going to contend. I think Union's your favorite right now, but with sprinting, I feel like they're not ahead by that much. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think with the 4x8, you've got Edmond Memorial, you've got Deer Creek, you've got Owasso, you've got other people that I probably didn't mention, right? So then and with the 4x8, once again, you don't know what these schools are going to put on that team. For all we know, maybe one of those teams has a 400 guy, and they know their 4x4 is not going to score. All of a sudden, that 400 guy sets up to that 800. Maybe he runs 155. All of a sudden, they're in the mix. You know what I mean? So that's just what makes those events interesting, because you just don't know until state.
And with the sprint relays, you can have a drop baton. 4x1s, 4x2s, bad starts, drop batons, chaos can happen.
Happens,
of course.
man.
4x4, I think, is the one, at least in 6A, that I think there's a clear favorite. That and the 4x8 is like 318. I think you're the clear favorite. I mean, you're
for now, at least.
For now, for sure. And then 756, you've got 7 seconds over the next closest. Like, yes, Deer Creek is good, but are they 756 good? I don't know. Maybe. Would love to see it. I think it'll probably be a closer battle than 7 seconds, because state just that tends to happen. I don't think you'll really blow anybody out of the water by 7 seconds, at least this year. I don't think there's a team that deep and that strong. And then like a Broken Arrow, I believe is around 807 this year. So again, they're kind of in that ballpark that maybe by the end of the year, they're around an 8 flat relay as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things that could happen in the relays, and they are worth double, of course. So your state team battle, it gets settled a lot by relays, is if you have a strong relay team. I remember when I was in high school, Thomas would always win Class A, and they could not show up and do a single individual event and win because they won the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, 4x8. They'd win all 4 of them. They scored 80 points. Nobody could catch them. So it was like kind of a boring team battle there when you have that. But in 6A, you don't have that because it's hard to win all 4.
Has there been a recent? We have to probably try.
I don't think
where a team has won 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, 4x8
in 6A. No, I don't believe so. I think
it's probably happened once.
I'm sure it's happened at some point.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's happened at some point. Maybe like
Evan Memorial will be a
Memorial.
Team. Well, I know Memorial won. I know with Jed Helker, he won 4 events.
He did,
and they were always a good sprinting team.
That may be the only time someone could go fact check that for us, or don't. Doesn't matter. But that would maybe be the last time that's happened, at least in 6A. In every other class, it happens like every.
I know to win 4 events.
4 events is tough.
That's definitely happened more often because you've got the guys
Certainly.
running maybe a 100 and they're on a 4x1 and then like a 4x2.
Right.
But distance wise, it's tough to sweep.
Yeah.
But it happens.
I mean, logistically, like Dejon Gaines could win 4 events this year. He
Yeah.
could win the 400. He could win the 4x4. If he's in their 4x2 or 4x1, they can win it.
Can we see an 800?
I would love to see him run 800. As a distance nerd, I
Yeah.
want to see every 400-meter guy try their hand at the 800.
Mhm.
Because if you're a like really, really good 400 runner, it doesn't take you long to become good at the 8. And frankly, at least on the world stage, you got to be more of a 4.8 guy to be competitive than an 8:15 guy.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying, sprinters, you need to consider the 8 a little bit more, especially if you don't have quite the wheels on the 1 and the 2. You know, your start maybe not that good. Those are early onset 800-meter runner syndrome. So
Mhm.
move up, especially if you have a good coach knows what they're talking about. Move up. You can wait. Keep running the 1 and the 2, especially your first couple years of high school. You get to college, and you have a good distance coach or mid-distance coach. You should try it because you could be a lot better and go a lot farther in the sport in the 8 than you probably will sticking out being a mediocre 200, 400 guy. Go be a great 4.8 guy. That's my closing remark of the day. Shawn, do you have anything else for the lovely folks that listen to
I think
us?
we about covered it. We will see y'all next Monday.
We will see y'all later.